everybody, and hello, Niloofa. Thank you for joining us today. Um, Today, you're here to share your experience, well, your own experience, rather than your experience in your role, which is around self-worth and depression, and your own experience of self-worth growing up, and where that is now, and the role of compassion that's involved in that as well. Um, just a little bit of space for you to introduce yourself and what you do within your role. And then if you could just tell us a little bit about your story and your journey.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Ricky. My name is Niloofa. I am an art therapist and also an associate professional clinical counselor. And we provide group therapy, group creative arts therapy in different hospitals within the county where I live. And yeah, I think I'm just so honored to have been invited here and have the space to reflect with the poem. As you mentioned, Ricky, I think self-worth is a huge, very important topic. It has been in my life, like early on in the journey, up until like even right now, so for decades. And I've always been fascinated. I think I have a very black and white brain. I've always been weighing like what considers self-worth and what is not, and how can one gain their own respect and in life. And yeah, I think my life with my experience with depression was the ultimate question, faced me with the ultimate question about self-worth and how would I decide to go on, and what would I want to facilitate like in my life to make it worthwhile and make it hopeful. And as you said, I think my life kind of took a different transition when I discovered the word compassion, especially self-compassion.
Yeah.
When I came across the book Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff, who is a psychologist, and I realized that this is a whole field, like people have been researching this. And yeah, it was interesting because I started reading it and I felt like, yeah, it calmed me down. And at that time, I was having my internship at one of the hospitals. And I remember bringing that book with me to the hospital just to show the patients. And one of the patients there, they were very interested. They were an avid reader. So they started looking through it. And by the next time I was in that hospital, they had acquired their own copy and completely read through everything. I noticed that with people who are going through mental health struggles, usually it's so hard that the opposite of self-compassionate voice, the self-critical voice, is usually very predominant. It's very loud, and it actually drives people to, make self-harming decisions, or, so I think, yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting to bring that topic to the patients, to share it with them, to the way that it's affected me and it's helped me, and see how different people react to it. Yeah, that's. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing. There's a lot in there. I don't. I'm trying to think. Do I go down the compassion route? Do I go down the self worth route? So I'm gonna go down the self worth route first,
Mm-hmm.
and because I got the sense that your journey with self worth came a lot sooner than your journey with compassion, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned within that you learned what compassion was, which felt like a very a big statement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I ask what your relationship with self worth is? What your story
Mm.
self worth has been?
I think my relationship with self-worth has been a very rocky one,
Right.
because it's usually uh, it's making me actually think about social anxiety and the
Okay.
experience of growing up isolated. and not have that many like social connections. Self-worth is ultimately interesting because I feel like it's like a mirror that you see like the value that you bring in other people, and when that line is kind of disconnected, and the lack of, I think, personal relationships like in my life from early on um, made me question where I was like needed in certain spaces or with certain people. So I think that's a huge part of that makes me think about like the spaces I occupy and what I bring to spaces. Even now, like how do I show up and embody, and how do I share more of myself? I think.
It's really interesting way to look at it because self worth. Um, you'll often hear many people talking about self worth as your own, how you feel about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The word self's in it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, our self worth does come from other people and our experiences around other people and how we get on in the world. And I can hear that yours is very much impacted by that early on as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Thank you. You said it beautifully. Um, yeah, because I think ultimately sometimes what we get wrong is like having this individualist like way of looking at things, and versus like coming from more a collectivist. It's like we do need people, but sometimes I think it's hard to like maintain relationships, or it's like a skill that we have to be in, like taught, and like the lack of that, it creates like a difficulty, I think, in sustaining relationships. There is a part in my poem that I can share because it surprised me when I wrote it, and it's basically says you are worthy of effortless coexisting. Like it doesn't have to be this hard battle or struggle with like holding on to situations, holding on to people to stay in your life. It has to be like effortless, and like that's how it normally unfolds.
Just be yourself. I can hear in that those relationships, you get your
Mm-hmm.
self worth if you're able to be yourself, if you're able to
Mm.
just be
Mm-hmm.
and not perform in that.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Like being authentic. Oh yeah, that's a huge buzzword. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so your journey with self worth, you mentioned it's been rocky.
Mm.
Um, there's other relationships involved in that, and they from an early age they impacted how you felt about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And later on in what you were saying, you were introduced to the word compassion. You were introduced to what it is, which instantly there was a bit of sadness in me that that was something you had to be introduced to later in life, and
Mm.
something that you didn't kind of feel and know what it was, just like self worth earlier on. Um, there is a point that that was introduced, and I can hear that that's really shifted things for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes. Oh yes. I think the other key point about like self-worth or and being critical, I think, of myself is that voice that's always like ready to kind of like put me down, and it's almost like a delusional voice because when I was faced with people and relationships in life where they actually saw me for what I was and who I was, and I'm thinking about like close friends and like the chain of friends or people that I worked with, and I got to see myself through their eyes. I think that was also it complemented that compassion. I was like, huh, so I'm not as bad as I think I am. It's, I think that still I was able to like find myself through their eyes uh, by their feedbacks and comments. And I think that set the stone for me to start to like personalize it and embody it for myself and make it as something like self-sustaining, something that was coming and being generated, this love that was being generated like for me, like from me.
I I could hear almost that surprise when these relationships started to come about, or started to blossom rather for you. That
Mm-hmm.
surprise of actually, well, maybe I'm not so. Maybe if these people see me like this,
Mm-hmm.
I can see myself that way too.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a really beautiful, moment, and it just really shows how the people we spend our time with, the people that we trust our hearts to, the people that we give ourselves to, they're holding something so tender, and how
Mm.
they act, how they treat, how they behave
Oh
with that
yeah.
is so very important. And
Mm-hmm.
I can hear how important that was for you with
Oh
those friends,
yeah.
how special they are.
Yeah, very much. Very much. Thank you. Yeah. I think there was a point again in the poem where I'm describing seeing coming across my own reflection in the mirror, which at times have been really difficult,
Mm.
and like describing how this experience of meeting myself with like kind eyes and seeing myself and ultimately like coming through like a resolution, coming through a smile, like that was reflected back to me. It made me feel like, I like myself, or yeah, and that's enough. I don't need to change myself to gain anybody's respect. It's like I can show up authentically and be accepted because that makes me me, that makes me
Self-acceptance.
unique. Yeah, self acceptance.
And I mean, it's beautiful too, and it's the importance of that, the importance of the mirror, using that as a metaphor, almost being able to look into that mirror and being able
Mm-hmm.
to say, actually, who I am is enough.
Mm-hmm.
That that feels like a really huge moment from those critical voices and the put downs almost in your own head that you were feeling before. Being able to look in that mirror and say, who I am is enough. It
Mm-hmm.
was really powerful.
Oh yes, yeah. It is very powerful, and it is a metaphor, but it's also a practice that I find myself doing like every day. I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to meet my own eye gaze in the mirror, and I'm like, ooh, what's happening? It's like a sign. It's yeah, I think it's. I mean, we walk through this world not having like a video of us playing, like we're kind of like existing in our body and in our brain. We don't really see like how we look outwardly to people.
Yeah.
So a mirror is, yeah, a mirror is, it's interesting. It's like, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm gonna go out. Do I look good? I don't know. I think I need to do something else. I need to, yeah. But it's very practical.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking about this experience as you're talking as being
mm.
perhaps quite similar to looking in a mirror. Maybe when
Oh
we
yes.
sit there and we back. I mean, how was that? How was it for you to come on here today?
Mm-hmm. Mm. I think it's there is a certain level of courage that I need to kind of like tap into when I'm showing up in social spaces, or whether in person or virtual, because this is a space, and as you said, it is almost like vulnerable. It's like I am being exposed in some ways, or I'm exposing myself in some ways.
Mm.
Yeah, it takes, I think, lots of courageousness and compassion.
Absolutely, yeah, and self-acceptance. I, it's. I'm really glad that you did come on. I'm actually also really jealous of that background because it looks beautiful there. Um,
Thank you.
and I'm also really excited to hear your poem. Are you ready to share your poem with us?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
Cool. Over to you.
Down the memory lane somewhere, there is a younger me, breathing the midnight air, hoping in desperation. The moon is her confidant, for she's a giver who gives unrequitedly. She falls into the mirage of love and falls hard. She's young, she can make mistakes, and her artisan heart capable of forever mending broken expectations, of masochism and melancholy, will live to tell tales of clueless lovers and candles left burning, hope fueling a heart that burns for sake of anything sacred but itself. I let her be a child, a hopeless romantic, a creative loner. As she holds on to bittersweet memories, she remembers the taste of childlike innocence. This is life in her authorship. If I could go back, I would tell her there's always time to live a love story, to gain people's respect, but mostly her own, to not force connections and embrace solitude, that her people will come with all their hearts. She is worthy of effortless coexisting. Someday soon, the sun will come up, days swirl in and out, and life goes on. Birds will be singing, breeze flowing through the leaves, breathing amidst calm and anxiety, silence echoing here and now. And she will listen closely. She doesn't need anyone's affirmation. One day, she'll break away from this prison she calls validation, a call for courage, for self-obligation. She's beautiful that way, a blossom pressed tightly, anxious to flower, a leaning tree, a whipping willow maybe, rooting through her footprints, holding deep-rootedness and wondering. The sun envies her smile, and the dove falls hopelessly to her voice. She doesn't know it yet, but one day soon, in a mirrored reflection of two eyes and one gaze, a slight tilt of a telling smile reveals, I matter. She grows to like herself a bit more. My sweet child, feel proud when you lie down in bed, deep in thoughts of existential dread, when all you can do is breathe, that you are worth this life story. To hold, behold, and let it unfold. That it may be okay to sit back in your seat, plant both feet on the ground, and be held in sacrificial defeat. 'Cause what keeps you safe keeps you captive. To care is to let go, become bewildered, and yet to find your footing amidst a whirlwind. A canvas remembering, brush strokes of hope-filled marks, coloring the days vibrant, and the future kaleidoscopic.
Thank you for watching. Seriously, it means the world to me and our guests that you took the time to watch. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it really does help the channel to grow. And equally, you won't miss what's coming next if you do that. The aim of this channel and what me and the guests are trying to do is we're trying to inspire, and we're also trying to give other people a sense of belonging. And at the very least, we're trying to make other people feel seen and heard. And that's our hope with this channel. If this video spoke to you anyway, then please do check out our other videos just here. We will catch you in the next episode.